Let's return to our planet.
That light. It's the point of contact with our world. But the dimensional shift has already begun. Will we make it in time?
Can you run?
If we're together, I can.
Krelian, you.
There's no time. This place is about to be destroyed. Now there is no more God. This is no longer their planet. This is your home planet that you are now standing on.
Krelian, you aren't going, are you?
No. Since that time, I have stopped being human. I've committed so many sins that any attempt at living like a human is impossible. The only one who could have forgiven me was God.
That's not true. I know they would understand. There's still plenty of time to atone for your sins. You of all people could do it.
Always the peacemaker, eh, Lacan? Perhaps that's what it means to be human. But regardless, I cannot go. It's something I've already decided. I go to walk with God, even if there's no place left for me upon my return. I must go now.
Krelian.
Actually, I envy you too.
What happened?
Waves from the explosion disrupted the ionosphere, making it impossible to get a visual. They were probably caught up in the explosion.
That's a lie! He'll come back. He promised us he would! I know it!